Good afternoon, my dear students, and শুভ নববর্ষ সবাইকে। আশা করি সবাই ভালো আছো। এই নতুন বছর আমাদের নতুনভাবে আসুক, সব কিছু আমাদের যত ঝামেলা আছে, যত কিছু আছে সব কিছু মুছে যাক। এই নতুন বছরে সব কিছু নতুন করে শুরু করি আমরা। আমাদের সব বিপদ আপদ থেকে আল্লাহ আমাদেরকে রক্ষা করুন, এই প্রত্যাশায় আমাদের আজকে ক্লাস শুরু করছি। And you are most welcome to this English class, and let's start. So this time you see there are some pictures, and the pictures of a story. Perhaps you looking at the picture you can know the story, you can understand what the story is about. Yes, you are thinking about it. The story is about two friends and a bear. Okay, why I am telling you this story? Because তোমরা তো সবসময় ট্রান্সফরমেশনটা অ্যাফার্মেটিভ নেগেটিভ আমরা সবসময় রুলস পড়াই, এক্সাম্পলস দিই, এই ধরনের কিছু। সো দিস টাইম আই হ্যাভ ট্রাইড ইট ইন ডিফারেন্ট ওয়ে বিকজ আই হ্যাভ অ্যারেঞ্জ দ্য টোটাল ট্রান্সফরমেশন অফ সেন্টেন্স ইন্টু আ স্টোরি। বিকজ after completing these lessons, if you write down all the sentences together, it will make a story, and the story is of two friends and a bear. Okay, to give a different touch to this grammar through our story, learning grammar through our story. Okay, so let's start here. You see, we are talking about sentence, and sentence is your 5 types, as you know. Those sentences another 3 types: simple, complex, and compound. That is according to structure, but we will go for the next later on. So here you see there are 5 types of sentences: assertive, interrogative, imperative, optative, and exclamatory. Okay, so and you know perhaps about the structures of them as well, because assertive sentence always ends with full stop, interrogative sentence with question mark, and if you want to write an imperative sentence, then you have to write the imperative sentence starting with a verb. And then optative starts with may, and exclamatory there you can of course you have to use a sign that is note of exclamation, that is called note of exclamation. And by seeing all of this, these are the clues by which you can find out a sentence. Okay, then one by one I will go for the rules. The first one, you see, Karim is a friend of Rohim, and in this sentence, if this is an affirmative sentence, but if we want to make it a negative sentence, then if we say Karim is not a friend of Rohim, that it will be wrong answer, because that will not be transformation. As you know, transformation means changing the structure of sentence without changing meaning. Changing the structure of sentence without changing meaning. That's why it will be, the answer will be Karim is not a foe of Rohim or enemy of Rohim. That's why the meaning will retain same. একই অর্থ প্রকাশ করবে এখন যে Karim is not a foe of Rohim, that means Karim is a friend of Rohim. That's why this is called transformation of sentence, because we came to know that transformation means changing the structure of sentence without changing meaning. And in these 2 sentences we see there is no change of meaning, right? But one is affirmative and other one is negative. This is called transformation of sentence. Okay, so what is your topic today? You can guess. Our topic today is transformation of sentence, as you are saying it perhaps. Okay, next, first we will go for affirmative to negative, how to make affirmative sentences into negative. So I will go for the examples first, and then I will set the rule for you, and you must write down. If you cannot, you need not to write down all the examples, but you have to write down the rules as well. We have 13 rules here, so one by one I will go for that. And actually you will have to understand the sentences, and then you will have to write down the rules as well. Okay, so you see the first sentence is there, were only 2 friends walking on the road. Here the word, you see there is the word only, and only, after only we will look at what is the word. You see, yeah, only পরে এখানে রয়েছে 2 is a number. 2 is a number, and after আমরা যদি দেখি যে অনলির পরে কখনো 2 থাকে বা সংখ্যা থাকে, নাম্বার থাকে, তখন নট মোর দ্যান অথবা নট লেস দ্যান ব্যবহার করতে হয়, নিশ্চয়ই তোমরা জানো। সো দ্য আনসার উইল বি there were not more than 2 friends walking on the road. Here not more than হবে, অথবা you can also write down not less than. তাহলে আমরা এটা কি শিখলাম যে অনলির পরে সংখ্যা থাকলে আমরা সাধারণত not more than অথবা not less than ব্যবহার করে we usually make it negative sentence. So okay, there is another example for you. They were talking about their only their friendship. So this time after only we see our friendship, a wordta royeche, and our friendship is not a number, is not a thing, is not a person. Okay, so is a thing in one sense. এটা অবশ্যই একটা ফ্রেন্ডশিপ, একটা বস্তু বা একটা অন্য কিছু বা একটা মানে অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্ট নাউন এখানে বোঝাচ্ছে। So in that case only পরে আমাদের we have to use nothing but. So they were talking about nothing but their friendship. Okay, so আমরা এটা শিখলাম তাহলে কি অনলি পরে সংখ্যা থাকলে নট মোর দ্যান অথবা নট লেস দ্যান হয়, আর অনলি পরে যদি অন্য থিং থাকে বা বস্তু বা অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্ট নাউন থাকে, সো ইন দ্যাট কেস আমরা নাথিং বাট ইউজ করব। But if there is, but the Almighty alone knew about their future. Here you see before alone, there you see the Almighty is the subject, so alone indicates subject here. যদিও এটা সাবজেক্টটা পরে বসেছে, ইট ইন্ডিকেটস দ্য সাবজেক্ট ইজ দ্য অলমাইটি, দ্যাটস ওয়াই অলমাইটির ক্ষেত্রে আমরা নান বাট বসাবো। সো বাট নান বাট দ্য অলমাইটি নিউ অ্যাবাউট দেয়ার ফ্রেন্ডশিপ, অ্যাবাউট দেয়ার ফিউচার। So what are the rules we get here? The first rule number 1 that you have to keep in mind, because I must say it is a software, so if you cannot know about the software or the rule, then it will be very tough for you to transform the sentences like this. Okay, so the rule is that only or alone, only by alone থাকলে আমরা সাধারণত নাউন বাট বসাই, যেটা পারসন বা ব্যক্তির ক্ষেত্রে বোঝায়, আর অনলি পরে থিং থাকলে আমরা নাথিং বাট, অনলি পরে নাম্বার থাকলে নট মোর দ্যান অর নট লেস দ্যান বসাই। So in this way, if you know the rule, then I think it will be very easy for you to transform the sentence from affirmative to negative if there is only or alone in affirmative sentence. Okay, so then we are going for the next rule for you. And they must retain their friendship at any situation. So there is the word must, you see in different ink, must is written. Must শব্দটি in place of must we usually use cannot but or cannot help plus verb plus ing. You see, you know the rules perhaps, because এই রুলসটা সবসময় আমি man must die in that sense আমরা এটা বসাই, man must die, man cannot but die অথবা man cannot help dying. So that will be the answer, but this time the example is different. They must retain their friendship at any situation. So in that case, in place of must, if you want to make it negative, then you have to use cannot but. So they cannot but retain মানে ধরে রাখা their friendship at any situation. তারা যে কোনো অবস্থায় তাদের বন্ধুত্বকে ধরে রাখবে অবশ্যই। So এটা তারা বলছিল, they were talking about these things, they were talking about their friendship. That's why এখানে cannot but বসিয়েছি। You can also write down the answer by using cannot help. You can also write down they cannot help retaining their friendship at any situation. So in that case, you have to be careful about the use of cannot but and cannot help. If you want to use cannot help, then you have to use cannot help plus VIII, that means present form of the verb. But if you want to use cannot help, then you have to use cannot help plus verb plus ing. Be careful about the use of cannot but and cannot help. Okay, so on the way they had to cross a forest. So in that case, you see the word had to, and that is the had to, that means must in the past tense is called had to. তার মানে মাস্টটাকে আমি যে পাস্ট টেন্সে ব্যবহার করতে চাই, দেন আমাদের we use had to. Okay, on the way they had to cross a forest. So in place of had to, if you want to make it negative, then in place of had to you have to use could not but or could not help. I have given one example here, could not help, how to use could not help. So look at this sentence. On the way they could not help crossing a forest. They could not help crossing a forest. You could also write down on the way they could not but cross a forest. You could also write down in that way. Okay, so that means the rules that we get, rule number 2 here, in place of must, have to or has to, we have to use cannot but plus VIII or cannot help plus verb plus ing. But you can also write down could not help in place of had to, though that had to is not indicated here in this rule, but there is one example for that. So you have to keep it in mind also, that in place of had to you can use could not but plus VIII or could not help plus verb plus ing. So is that rule clear perhaps to you? And তাহলে আমরা দুইটা rules পেলাম. So at the last moment I will ask you about the rules. So in the first rule we got only or alone, in the second rules we got must, have to, or has to. In that case you have to use cannot but plus V1 or cannot help plus verb plus ing. We are going next, and here you see every man loves true friendship. Every man, if you cannot write down the examples, no problem, but you have to write down the rules, of course. So every man loves true friendship. In this sentence we see the word every, and you have to look at this word every, and we have to change every here just to make it negative, and the sentence will be in the negative like that. There is no man but loves true friendship. You see, there is no man but loves true friendship. So in place of every we have used there is no. We have used there is no, and we have used the noun then, and we have used but. Okay, so be careful. If there is every mother loves her child, so what should be the answer? There is no mother but loves her child. Or every man must die, there is no man must die. So in place of every you have to write down there is no, and that noun plus but. Okay, I think it's very clear to you. Okay, so next rule is that so everyone liked them very much. So if there is no in this sentence we see there is no every nahi kintu. So in that case what should we do? In that case we have to make it negative using the opposite word, and you know what is the opposite word of like? That is dislike. Okay, so we have to use the word dislike. No one disliked them at all. Look at this phrase at all. Why have we used at all? Because in place of very or very much, then we have to use the word at all. This rule is very important, and you have to be careful about the rule, because আমরা জানি যে very or very much যদি থাকে in the affirmative sentence, then we just to make it negative, then we have to use at all. This is a very important thing. Okay, so we came to know we have made this sentence in the negative, and we have used the opposite word of the verb. Okay, so in this way we can make a negative sentence by using the opposite word, but in that case you have to make the sentence negative just to make it negative. Okay, the rule for you is that every plus noun is equal to there is no or there was no. You have to look at the verb, whether the verb is in the present or past. If the verb is in the present form, then you have to write down there is no, and if the verb is in the past tense, there you have to write there was no. So be careful about the tense. Okay, there is or was no plus noun, and then you have to use but, and be careful about this phrase a lot of, or if there is any very much or much. So in that case you have to use not at all. Not at all, I wanted to mean that not means you have to make it negative and you have to use at all. Not at all কিন্তু পাশাপাশি লিখতে হবে না. So not at all means you have to make the sentence negative and you have to use at all. Okay, and going next, you see they were too afraid to walk along the road, and you see there is the word that is the conjunction 2.2. So in place of 2.2 you usually use so and that. So adjective plus that. We use so adjective plus that. Okay, you see in place of 2.2 if we want to make it negative, then we have to use so adjective plus that. So the answer will be they were so afraid that they could not walk along the road, and you see in the place of 2 we have used so, and in place of 2 we have used that subject could not. Okay, the rule number 4 for you is that perhaps you can understand. Rule 4 is 2.2 in place of this was too far. Okay, 2.2 in place of 2.2 you have to use so that just to make it negative. Okay, so perhaps you understand this rule number 4, and we will go for rule number 5. Here you see, as soon as they saw a bear, they become so afraid. Okay, so here you see as soon as. The word conjunction is as soon as. So in place of as soon as we have to use no sooner had. We have to use no sooner had. So you have to know the structure of no sooner had. As I am showing you no sooner had, the structure of no sooner had is that you have to use no sooner had, then subject, then past participle form of the verb, and then the rest, then THAN, and they become so afraid here. ওকে, তার মানে as soon as থাকলে আমাদের no sooner had আর than বসাতে হবে, and be careful about the spelling of than, than, don't use then. Okay, so no sooner had than. So if I say as soon as he saw me he ran away, so what will be the answer then? No sooner had he seen me than he ran away. Okay, so in that case you can make or use no sooner had in place of as soon as to make it negative. Okay, so perhaps the rule for you is here, so no sooner as soon as in place of as soon as you will have to use no sooner had subject V3 than subject V2. We are going next. They were both afraid and at a loss. At a loss, this is a phrase, and know the meaning of at a loss mane hotobuddhi, mane you are in a situation that what to do you cannot decide. That situation is called at a loss. Or you can also the similar phrase you can get the similar phrase at a loss means in a fix or at a loss. That means in such a situation that you cannot understand what to do. Okay, so thank you. So in place of both and we will use not only dot but also. So okay, and the rule for you is that, so in place of both and you will use not only and but. We are going to rule number 7 here. Rule number 7, they had sometimes quarrels. Thank you, Baba. They had sometimes quarrels. Here you see sometimes the word, look at the word sometimes, and in place of sometimes we will have to use not always. We'll have to use not always. Not always means you have to make the sentence negative and you have to use the word always. Okay, they did not have quarrels always. They had sometimes quarrels, man, they did not have quarrels always. In rule number 7 we get in place of sometimes to make it negative we have to use not always. We have to use not always. Okay, they had sometimes quarrel, they did not have quarrels always. Okay, okay, next rule number 8, we are going for rule number 8. Here you see, but they were always grateful. They were always grateful, but just like the word always, in place of word always we'll use not never. We'll use never plus opposite word. Okay, so here you see, but they were always grateful, so in place of always we have used never plus opposite word. So he is always punctual, that means he is never unpunctual. He is always always TD, so you can make it opposite by using he is never untd. Okay, just you have to use the opposite word if you use never in place of always. Okay, so next we are going rule number 8. There you see, in place of always you have to use never plus opposite word. Never plus opposite word you have to use. And then rule number 9 we will go. This is a very important one, and perhaps this is an exception rule. So they tried every plan to escape the bear. If you see every plan, so every day কিন্তু একটা rules we have already learned, but this is not like that. This is different. So they tried every plan to escape the bear. If I want to see the answer will be like that. So did not leave any plan untried to escape the bear. Okay, so in that case like এই রুলসটা যেটা একটা উদাহরণ যেটা আমরা সবসময় দিয়ে থাকি যে he tried he turned every stone to solve the problem. তার মানে he did not leave any stone unturned to solve the problem. Usually I give that example, but here I have set another example for you. So they tried every plan to escape the bear, so they don't leave any plan untried to escape the bear. So be careful about this sentence. This sentence is very exceptional and very different and very important one. Okay, so here I have set a rule, but the rule is really hardly understandable. So every plus noun থাকলে any plus noun plus opposite word বসাতে হয়। আমি কিন্তু মাঝখানে রুলস টু মাঝখানেটুকু লিখে দিয়েছি, but just simply to set a rule, actually there is no rule like that. So you have to go for this individual sentence, and this individual example is a rule. Okay, so you have to keep it in memory. This sentence or any sentence like that, you have to keep in memory, so that you can write the answer if this type of example comes to your exam. And here you see now they are the most nervous men. Here you see this is a superlative degree, and perhaps you are very well known about superlative degree, because a few days ago I taught about the transformation of sentence of comparison of adjectives. So this is a superlative degree. You can easily make it negative by making it positive degree. Superlative degree, if there is any superlative degree, then you have to use the positive degree and automatically it will be negative. How? We will use so, no, but now no other man. You see we have used no other. We know the plus superlative থাকলে আমরা negative করার সময় we usually use no other. So here you see no other এবং man, আমি এখানে you know it very clearly that after no other we will use the singular form of the noun. That's why we have used no other man, and we have used the singular verb is as nervous as they. Be careful, you can also use so as is correct in one sense, but so is the best. Okay, I will go next. So that means if there is the plus superlative degree, then you have to use no other and singular noun to make it positive as well as negative. So positive করলে এটা automatic negative হয়ে যাবে. So be careful about that. So লিখবো, হ্যাঁ, so ফাহিম শাকিল, so is the best. So is the best answer. Okay, but as is not incorrect, I must not say. Okay, one friend was more nervous than the other. So here you see then plus then এর পরে আমরা জানি যে তিনটা জিনিস থাকে, any other, all other, most other. But here we see then এর পরে any other, all other, most other এর কোনোটা নেই। তার মানে হচ্ছে যে আমাদের সাবজেক্ট ভার্ব কম্পারেটিভ ডিগ্রি দেন প্লাস এনপি এর রুলসে চলে যাব আমরা। দ্যাট মিনস এনপি মানে দ্য আদার, এটাকে আগে আনতে হবে। দ্য উইল রাইট ডাউন ইন দ্যাট ওয়ে। দ্য আদার লিখলে আসলে হয় না, সো এই ক্ষেত্রে আমাদের ফ্রেন্ডটা আনতে হবে অবশ্যই সাবজেক্ট বানানোর জন্য। দ্যাটস ওয়াই দ্য আদার ফ্রেন্ড ওয়াজ নট অ্যাজ নার্ভাস অ্যাজ দ্য ওয়ান। ওকে, সো ইউ ক্যান ইউজ this so not as adjective as plus subject. That means then এর পরে যদি এনপি থাকে তখন সেটাকে নেগেটিভ অটোমেটিক করা হয়ে যাবে if you want to make it positive. যদি আমরা পজিটিভ করি then it will be automatically negative, কারণ পজিটিভ করতে হলে আমাদের অবশ্যই নেগেটিভ করতেই হবে। হ্যাঁ, that's why the answer is like that. So these two rules come from your comparison of adjectives or degree. Okay, so the rule is that comparative then থাকলে verb negative as বসাতে হবে। You can also write down so as. তো এই জিনিসগুলো আমার অবশ্যই একটু ঠিক করে দেওয়া উচিত, আসলে এটা so as is better. Then we will go for another rule. There was a little chance for them to remain alive. So here you see the word a little. So in that case, if you want to make it negative, there was not much chance for them to remain alive. So a little থাকলে not much এবং few থাকলে not many বসাতে হয়। So the rule is there for you. Rule number 12 is here. So if there is little, so in place of little, just to make it negative, you have to use not much. And if there is few, so you have to use not many. Okay, so and the last rule for you is that friendship is wealth. You see this is a proverb, and if you want to make it negative, it's not possible to make negative because we don't know the opposite word of wealth. Wealth এর opposite word আমাদের এখানে জানা নেই, so that we cannot make it negative. So in that case you have to use make it negative interrogative. এটাকে আমাদের নেগেটিভ ইন্টিগ্রেটিভ করতে হবে, and then we can just write down the answer. So isn't friendship wealth? That is the answer. Time is valuable. Isn't time valuable? So in that, just simply in case of proverbs or that is universal truth, you can just make it negative interrogative to make it negative in transformation. Okay, so your rule is that if there is universal truth, you have to make it negative interrogative sentence to make it a negative sentence in transformation. Okay, perhaps you understand it. And one example, man man is mortal. This is a universal truth. After that we can use man is not immortal. So you need not to use negative interrogative in that sentence. If you can make it by using the opposite word. Okay, you understand perhaps? If you can make it negative with using opposite words, that will go on fine. But if you cannot make it negative by using opposite word, in that case you have to make it negative interrogative. Okay, so I think you understand the rules. That was very first preliminary rules of transformation of sentence. Usually this affirmative to negative, this type of sentence usually come to your exam, though there is another part. The rest of the part I'll go for the next class. So in the new year, wish you best of luck and best wishes for all of you. So see you on Tuesday. Thank you. Bye. Allah.